everyone. My name is Caitlin Malone and welcome back to my true crime channel. Hello, it has been a few weeks. I hope you all had a great holidays, but as you can see, some things are different, and that is because I did take a few weeks off for a multitude of different reasons. One reason being that you guys can see on the screen right now, I did want to upgrade my quality of my videos, and I wanted to get a professional microphone instead of just using my Rode mic that was attached to my camera because it was very far away from me. And since I started this channel, I wanted to have a more professional setup. And so here we are now. I have this very nice microphone and it was definitely an investment. So I'm really hoping that the sound of my videos is improved. So let me down below if you guys see any difference. I'm hoping you do see a bit of a difference. But yeah, I was waiting for this microphone to come in. So as soon as it came in, which was yesterday, I set it all up, prepared for today to film. Also, just to update you guys on my life, I also got married. So weird calling him my husband now because he's been my boyfriend for 3 years, and now just saying the word husband is so crazy to me. I never thought I would call someone my husband, but I'm so glad that I am now. My husband lives in Florida and he came to visit me. We ended up getting married while he was here and he went back to Florida now, but I am now going to be in the process of doing my paperwork so that I can eventually move to Florida as well. So that's exciting. So that's just a little life update from me and what I've been up to for the last couple weeks. But yeah, I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday season. But now we are going to be jumping back into telling some very disturbing true crime stories. And I'm starting off the new year of 2022 telling the story of Cassidy Rainwater. Cassidy Rainwater's story I have not heard spoken about by very many people. So I wanted to launch the new year speaking about a case that I think is under talked about, and I think Cassidy's is a great case to start with.
Cassidy Rainwater is 33 years old. What happened to her remains a mystery, a case full of speculation and gruesome details. Court documents reveal investigators found partially nude pictures of her in a cage. 2 men have been arrested for kidnapping and terrorizing her. The sheriff posted on Facebook, more charges are expected.
Cassidy Rainwater went missing in August of 2021 and was later found to have been murdered by 2 men, and some even suspect cannibalism. Yeah, you heard me right. Some people do believe that Cassidy was eaten by these 2 men and that these 2 men are cannibals. And on top of that, there may be more victims. So Cassidy Rainwater was a 33-year-old woman living in Missouri. She went to high school just outside of Kansas City in Harrisonville, which is a small town with a population of around 10,000 people. Cassidy is also the mother of a 16-year-old boy along with another son that I couldn't really find much information on. And on top of that, from what I read, the 16-year-old boy was actually adopted into a different family and lives in a completely different city, and this adopted family has been trying to shield him from his mother's death. And it's really unclear as well if Cassidy even had custody of her younger child. The father of her oldest son was actually interviewed, and he relayed how shocked and devastated that he was when he heard about the news of Cassidy's murder.
It's shocking. It's devastating. It's shocking. It's not something you deal with on a daily basis or hear about, or somebody who's even close to you. It's just it's a crazy world we live in, and I can't even process the feelings right now, to be honest with you.
We met Ben. We agreed to conceal his identity.
Despite that, he was quoted saying, "My mind didn't go to, she's fine. My mind went to, something happened." Apparently, he did speak to Cassidy every once in a while due to connections that they had. In his interview, he did claim that Cassidy was in a bad way and homeless at the time of her disappearance. Still seems to be unclear what led Cassidy to Moon Valley Road in Dallas County, Missouri, but it would be a decision that would end her life. According to Fox 2 Now, the latest documents made public claim Cassidy's killers had planned her murder for the night of July 24th of 2021. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be until about a month later on August 25th when relatives of Cassidy would finally report her missing, and then finally that the Dallas County deputies began their search. Now, the police would be led to a house on 386 Moon Valley Road, and this is the last known place that Cassidy had been staying recently, but when deputies went to the residence, there was no sign of her at the cabin. Now let's talk about this cabin and this address for a moment. Not only is this place very run down, but it is also very, very remote. But when I do pull it up on Google Maps, as you can see here, it's literally in the middle of nowhere. You know how you can drop the little guy on Google and you can like walk around on Street View? This is one of those areas where you cannot do that. That is how remote it is. The Google Street View did not go down one of these streets. Google Street View, the little Google car did not go on this road. We can, however, see the road that leads to Moon Valley Road. And on this road, it is littered with abandoned cars, as you can see. The closest main town is also half an hour away. Kansas City is nearly 3 hours away. The Ozarks are actually only half an hour away, which this entire story and where it takes place just gives me vibes of the show Ozark. It literally has nothing to do with the show, but it just brought me back to that show where all these crazy things happen there. Cassidy's murder and the way that it's going to unfold seems like something that I would see in that show. So just saying. The father of Cassidy's older son said that Cassidy was currently homeless and in a bad way at this time. Whatever led Cassidy to this house and this cabin on Moon Valley Road was not good. Honestly, the people that she was staying with there are clearly not good, and they would lead to her demise. It makes me really wonder, why was she at this house? Was there nefarious reasons she was there, like drugs? Maybe she just didn't have anywhere else to stay. She thought it would be a good place to crash for a while. If she was homeless, just like the father of her oldest child was saying. I haven't really found any definitive reasons why she was at this home. And then at the same time, why was she putting her trust in these people? These people that she was staying with clearly had nefarious intentions. Let me know down below if you have any theories on these things. So it is now September 1st, which is about a week after she was reported missing. The police end up returning to Moon Valley Road to reinvestigate Cassidy's disappearance there. This time, a man named James Phelps is there, and he talks to the police and he admits that Cassidy was living there, but he claims that she left suddenly in July. It seems, I seen in one article that he said she had walked down the like dirt road that led from the house and got into a vehicle and disappeared. Gives me Alexis Sharkey case vibes, where Alexis's husband said that she ran into this car and it drove off and he never seen her again. I don't know why this is always like an out for criminals to be like, oh, they jumped in a car. I don't know what happened to them. But it does seem to be a continuing story that people like to tell in murder cases. So I think criminals need to come up with something a little more original at this point. But either way, according to James Phelps, Cassidy disappeared suddenly in July. Wonder why, James? Wonder why. But here is where things get scary. A couple weeks go by with no new leads. That is until September 16th, when the FBI receives a cyber tip. And this cyber tip was containing photos. And these weren't just any photos. These were photos of a partially nude woman being held in a cage. And then there was another set of photos of a mutilated body inside of that exact same cage. And that woman would later be identified as Cassidy Rainwater. Court documents would say that not just James Phelps was living on that property, but another man as well named Timothy Norton was also living at the property at that time. In the following days, police would arrest both Timothy and James and charge them with felony kidnapping. Both men would be interrogated, and James Phelps would refuse to speak, which is his right. Thankfully, for whatever reason, Timothy wasn't as sparing with his information as James was, and he ended up admitting to the police that he had helped to both restrain and kill Cassidy. So I actually ended up finding some information on people.com on statements that Timothy made to police. So it says here, a statement read, Norton told FBI agents that Phelps had him come over while Cassidy was sleeping on the living room floor, so he had easy access to attack Cassidy. Again, I don't know why he wanted to kill her. I still don't know the motives of all of this. It's very strange to me. Like, I don't know. Other than the people suspecting that they're cannibals and they wanted to eat her, I don't see the motive of why they murdered her. But anyways, back to the statement. Norton stated after entering the house, he held Cassidy's legs down while Phelps strangled her and placed a bag over her head. After Cassidy was dead, he and Phelps took a short break before carrying her body outside. Norton stated that Phelps bound her to the gantry crane, which is outside where they hang up deer when they dismember deer. And Phelps began eviscerating and dismembering Cassidy's body. Norton stated he helped Phelps carry Cassidy's body into the house and placed her into the bathtub. Yeah, so these men are in custody, thankfully. But that's not the last of it. Things keep getting more interesting. On October 4th, someone ends up setting fire to the cabin where Cassidy was suspected to have been murdered. When an investigation is launched into this fire, homemade bombs with tripwires are found. And this fire coincidentally happened a day before James Phelps and Timothy Norton were set to appear in court for the very first time. Big coincidence. Now, just like a lot of cases, a lot of information about this case is being held really close to the vest by police. And I am hoping with more and more trials coming out and things progressing, more information will come out, especially like little details on motives. And again, like why Cassidy needed to be murdered, I still don't understand. As you can tell though, what we do know so far is disturbing. So all I can expect is that it would be worse what they're keeping private. So Timothy admits to Cassidy being murdered, the house is burnt down, etc., etc. But at this point in time, Cassidy's body still had not been found. That is until November 17th rolls around. I have written down here November 17th. I'm not 100% sure her remains were found on this date. I do know, however, that this is the date that both men were charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and abandonment of a corpse. And then it later said after the remains were found. And so the way Cassidy's remains were found is what makes this story insane. It pushes it over the edge. And this is where it brings in this whole idea of cannibalism. And that is because Cassidy's remains were found inside of a freezer at James Phelps' cabin. And these remains obviously match Cassidy's. They were Cassidy's remains. Her DNA was matched. This is what is disturbing. Her remains weren't just found inside of this freezer, like stuffed in there. Okay, this is going to be weird. I don't know how else to describe this, but you know when you get like a big pack of meat and you like break it down into separate packets, like freezer bags, and then you like date them so that you know the date because it's not on like, you don't have the main pack of meat anymore, so you write it on the baggies. Yeah. She was dismembered and put into multiple little baggies inside of this freezer, and these little baggies had the date 7/24 written on them. And this also leads to why police suspected that she was murdered on July 24th, because that is the date that they wrote on these bags. They suspect that was the date she was bagged. Yeah. More of Cassidy's DNA was also found in an adjacent backyard to the property. I also, on top of that, seen that more of Cassidy's DNA was found on a separate property. I don't know if that's the adjacent backyard. Again, let me know down below if I'm incorrect in this because I couldn't find like proper information on it, but it said in an article. So, I mean, hey, but it said that the separate property belonged to Cassidy's deceased grandfather, Bill Rainwater. If that is true, like what? This house like backed onto one of Cassidy's relatives might make sense then why Cassidy was at this house. She might know them, they're family friends. I still don't, confused by that. But still like what? Anyways, a lot of this was also corroborated after the FBI found messages sent between James and Timothy that discussed planning Cassidy's death. Remember how I said there's not a huge amount of information on this case? Well, I realized in doing my research that this is the case that involved a sheriff that bashed the true crime community. And I don't know if maybe that's why no one's really covering this case, because there is a decent amount of information on it. It is a very disturbing case that I think people need to know about. Basically, there wasn't even as much information out as there was now, but because there was so much speculation on this case, the sheriff's department ended up releasing extra information that I guess they weren't planning on in the beginning to release because they wanted to like squash the theories and conspiracies that they were saying that people were coming up with. And that was Officer Scott Rice, who works with the Dallas County Sheriff's Office. And he has multiple quotes about the rumors surrounding Cassidy's death and her two killers. He wrote, and I quote, "While I understand the impatience and curiosity of the people, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. It is not a good idea to listen to a crime reporter, blogger, or TikTok videos." I totally agree with him. You definitely should do your own research on cases. As I always try to say in my videos, I'm not 100% about certain information, which is why I let you guys know on that information and tell you guys to let me down below if you have found any information that contradicts what I'm saying or, you know, details that I couldn't find stuff on. Maybe you guys found some stuff that I could not find. But this is where this guy goes a little bit off the deep end, in my opinion, because he starts demolishing the true crime community and people that are fans of true crime by saying that they are sitting in their apartments or their mommy and daddy's basement eating great value cheese puffs and drinking box wine. He then went on to say that the public should stop hanging on every word in this type of crap. So yeah, first off, I sit alone in my apartment drinking gin and tonics, thank you. I'm not really a boxed wine type of gal. Nothing wrong with that if you are. Wine just gives me a headache though. But what do you guys think about this officer bashing the true crime community and true crime fans? I totally agree that some people are out there spreading misinformation. Especially on TikTok, I don't find it on YouTube as often. I find like the YouTube true crime community is pretty solid, or at least I don't follow anyone that isn't. I'll put it that way. There probably is people on YouTube that are out there for the wrong reasons or just to get views for making up crazy theories. I know I've come across videos on TikTok that are like really out there, or they're coming up with like these crazy off the wall theories that like of a case that I know a lot about. And I'm like, that makes no sense. That's not true. That was like a really big theory. That's not true. But they're like doing it for views, which is not the right thing. So I definitely agree with this officer in saying that. But when he just bashes the entire true crime community, where there's a lot of people that want to try to spread the word about cases that aren't just talked about, such as Cassidy's, I just don't think he should put everyone into a box. I don't want to go on too long of a rant here about this officer's statements. I just think it's pretty interesting that he had the balls to go out there and say that about an entire community of people. He like really stereotyped them, which I don't think the stereotype is 100% true. There's definitely always outliers in every different group, community, whatever. But I do know I have seen really great things happen within the true crime community. I've seen creators make videos on certain cases that aren't getting looked into enough. And because, you know, all these people watch this video, the video blows up, petitions are signed, and the case gets reopened. I've seen a lot of great things happen. As of this time, authorities have stated that they have no reason to think that there are other victims out there of James and Timothy, but the investigation is still going on. However, I did recently find something that may contradict that statement. It may come out in the future that there are some ties to this. And that is from a news station called KOLR. And the station found ties to another victim. And that victim, coincidentally, is actually Cassidy's own mother, Tracy. Tracy went missing in 2007. Based on this finding, Tracy's remains were found scattered in a field near Lebanon, Missouri. And these remains were found about a year after her disappearance. Police, however, are saying that they don't think that there's any connections between Cassidy's murder and her mother's murder, but it's just very strange how both mother and daughter in separate instances are kidnapped and then murdered. It's very strange. Very, very strange to me. Let me know down below how you feel about that. I don't know, man. Honestly, the one thing about this case that I don't believe, now again, it's still an active investigation. There's still things happening. But in my opinion, these two men, James Phelps and Timothy Norton, are way, way too experienced for this to have just been a first murder. Again, this is 100% my opinion on this. I just don't see how these two men so strategically planned out the murder of Cassidy Rainwater, hung her on a deer hook, dismembered her, bagged her up, and labeled her like she was ground beef from the supermarket, and photographed it all. That just seems way too fucking ballsy to me for this to be a first kill. Let me know down below how you guys feel about that. The police saying that they don't suspect that Timothy and James have any other victims, to me, just seems ridiculous. If Cassidy's murder was their first murder, I am very, very glad that these men were caught as fast as they were, because if not, they would be serial killers. There's something seriously wrong with these men, and the way that they carried out her murder and did with her body after her murder is just not normal. There's no way, in my opinion, that this was their first murder. And I'm not saying that her mother's murder is connected to this. There clearly is something going on within Cassidy's family and in her little world. And in this area of Missouri that the police aren't telling us about. There's still some secrets out there I know that they're keeping. There has to be a reason behind why she was murdered. What was going on? Why was she even staying there? What are the family ties? I don't know, man. There's just something going on there that I want more information on. It's just not all connecting right now. And I think it will in the future once more information comes out. But what do I know? Currently sitting in my parents' basement eating cheese puffs, right? Anyways, this case has me feeling all kinds of things right now because it is just, I can't wrap my brain around it that they're saying that there's no connections at all. There can't be. I don't know. Let me know down below how you guys feel about this case. I could sit here and ramble on about this for hours because it gets to me. It's so strange, this case. That these men, no. I'm just very glad that they're in police custody. They're being charged accordingly. But I really feel like there's more victims out there. I really, really do. Let me know down below if you agree with me or if you disagree. Totally want to hear your opinion as well. Let's discuss this case. But yeah, that is the current information on the case of Cassidy Rainwater. Well, guys, I hope this crazy case kicked off 2022 for you all. I will be back next week with even more content. And let me know down below how you like this little mic setup. I'm not a huge fan of like the boom armor and everything in the shot, but like I can't figure out another way to do it. And this is like, it seems how everyone else does it. So I hope it's okay. Let me know down below how you feel about it. This is the kickoff of 2022. I have a lot more new content coming to you guys. Let me know down below if there are any cases that you want me to cover this year. Now that I have this new microphone, I can film my videos faster as well, because on my old microphone, I had to stop every 5 seconds because of like outside noise. I do live near a main road, so it's pretty loud. But this microphone thankfully doesn't pick that up because it is nice. Thank you all for joining me today so I could tell you Cassidy's story. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you are notified when I post a new video. Also, if you give this video a nice big thumbs up, it really does help me out a lot, and it's totally free to do. Everyone loves some free stuff. But without further ado, I hope you all have a great night. Thank you for joining me tonight so I could tell you Cassidy's story, and I will see you in the next case. Bye.